Good afternoon, everyone. If you're joining us, this is Premium Times, and we're having a special interview with a guest from Ukraine. We have in the studio this afternoon with us Tatiana, my brother, not my brother. It's Tatiana, my brother, and she's representing the Ukraine's Ministry of Education here, and she works as a coordinator for international students here, and also at the University of Subi, where some of our students were stuck and in the wake of the war when it started. But we have her here in the studio to answer a lot of questions you have had over the months about continuing your education in Ukraine or getting your transcripts or moving out of Ukraine. But first, let's say hi to Mr. My brother.
Yeah, good afternoon, and
Yeah.
thank you for having me here.
Thank you for joining us. We have a lot of questions for you. Nigerian students who had to flee the war in Ukraine have been, asking questions. They've been worried about how to continue their education in Ukraine or outside Ukraine, especially the issue with the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. So let's get in their transfer. So before you respond, I understand you had a meeting with the Minister of Education today. So perhaps you want to throw more light on that before answering this question.
Yeah, thank you very much. This question is very, up to date. It's very important for our students. And yesterday we had a meeting with Minister of Education, with Permanent Secretary of Education, and today I just came to your studio from the Ministry of Health, where we held a meeting with. His honorable minister of health and also his team regarding particular issue of continuing studies of medical students. And yeah, they know the concerns, so especially after medical and dental council not recognizing online degrees, which we continued since we resumed our work when we had this opportunity since the beginning of war. And that was a very fruitful discussion because we are trying to facilitate solutions and developments for our students who continue their medical degrees. And there are several forms, several options like we are trying to present to the ministry, and we've got such an approval from other countries, ministries of health and their medical councils. And that's what we are trying to develop with the Ministry of Health and Medical Council of Nigeria. That, of course, we understand non-ability to recognize online education, especially for clinical, yes,
Yeah.
students like the one from the 600 level who sent us his question. And for such students, we've developed academic mobility programs as one of the option. When we agree with partner institution in another country, mostly it's Eastern Europe countries. It's some of the universities they have such programs with Poland, some with Moldova, some with Bulgaria, some with Georgia. Like my university, we developed such a solution for students so that we place them to come on campus to Georgian University. They continue studying offline, physically on campus of that university, having access to clinical studies and so on and so forth. So that's the probably best solution for such children to to continue their medical education. If not talking about 6 year students only, and also 500 level, 400 and younger, then also another option we've been discussing is mixed type of learning, when we also do with partner hospitals, clinics, or institutions, medical institutions abroad. We deliver online theoretical part of the discipline, and they provide clinical, practical aspects of it. So that's another option we've been discussing, especially for those who are currently in Europe, for example, right? We it's not probably developed for large number of students yet because we've not gotten approval from the Ministry of Health and Medical Council. But as soon as we develop the solutions, it will be more available for them to offer.
Interesting. So I'm just going to ask you to provide specific details on what these propositions are. So, is it the same? I mean, what you have in other countries that you've mentioned in Nigeria's Ministry of Health and Education? Can we get an insight into what those options are or those details? What your propositions rather, what they are?
The propositions are like we got a release from India, biggest number of students in Ukraine. We had, I think, 30,000 or something Indian students. Then also Morocco students. Their medical councils, they release a note that we, as a medical council of this country, we recognize first academic mobility on the campuses of these universities.
Okay.
Then, if they accept online, for example, Morocco, they accept it online even for this particular year. As soon as we have martial law and war is still going, and the third option, if they recognize, this mixed learning with the clinicals with partner universities, so that they release official transcripts, like certificates that they did these specific courses offline in their clinics, and then we combine our transcripts. So that's like main three directions we are trying to develop with your Ministry of Health and Medical Council.
Okay, nice. So on the mobility program, Lamide here is asking, are you aware that the mobility programs for some of your schools, the VN Karazin in Focus, organized two, and then two or three of those schools who they said they have a mobility program agreement, we have put out a public notice saying that they do not have anything to do with VN Karazin and it should be disregarded. Are you aware of such?
I know that VM Karazina, they developed several proposals as well with Turkey and also I think Moldova, if I'm not mistaken. But they had also several options for their students, like how to candidate. And I think they also were announced in Georgia as well for VM Karazin students.
So, but the question here is if you're aware that some of the schools that VN Karazin has said they have this partnership with are coming out to say that they have no business with VN
Oh,
Karazin.
okay. Sorry, I got the question now. The issue about academic mobility program that it initiates, like all the process starts from the home university. So home university, like we did in Sumy, we receive applications from students who want to join, who is, having this possibility. Not all students who are in Europe currently wanted to join. They are looking for some other options probably. So we collect this and we exchange with partner university abroad with the list. So this is not like an individual can apply, to partner universities in another country and say, oh, I am from Vienna and want to go for mobility. Mobility works under umbrella of two universities. So this is under partnership. So this is exchange of documentation, orders and some, academic administrative stuff we are doing for students in order they can participate in mobility program. So probably there is some, I don't know, particular the case of this child, but probably he contacted not that university with whom Karazina has a relationship, a partnership, and they need to start from their home university to register for the program.
Okay. So we're not sure what the case is,
Mm-hmm.
but two scenarios. So perhaps the student has gone on their own to approach this university after Caroline has said these are the schools we're partnering with, and then they have this challenge. But what if that is not the case?
Mm-hmm.
What if they are actually saying we do not want to partner with Karazin but have not communicated directly with Karazin? So what do students who find themselves in this situation do?
The only answer they can find from their home university in Ukraine. So they contact the responsible office in the university, whether it is international students department or international student office, it's different names, and they will guide students. So they, like in Vienkarazina, they have several options for students as far as I know. So they just need to contact their international center and like tell them what kind of program they want to join.
Hmm. Okay. Another question from a Twitter user is that really is not the real name, but why are African students being expelled from institutions in Ukraine because of failure to pay tuition in an active war situation?
Well, That's a good question because they are. I mean, we need to address this issue not only international students, but it's same for Ukrainian students. It's not like we consider separately. Students are students, whether they're home students or whether they're international students. It's same for Ukrainian students. We have a law, a financial monitoring board. We do not have a specific, legislation published because of the martial law. Nobody expected war. So some of the legislation we still use is pre-war. And it's for Ukrainian students and international students, universities cannot deliver educational services if they do not have fees paid. So this is just the general, norm which universities follow. So if they have debts for financial debts for the university then doesn't have any other option as to expel some. I know, like we in Sumy, we give extension, not like before the war, they need to pay, beginning of semester. We were given time till even end of semester for students to pay, so that, we were trying to balance in this situation. But unfortunately, the law is law, and we, beyond some point, we cannot do this because we will be punished by financial monitoring board for that.
But it's 8 months into the war, and even the financial monitoring boards are aware that there's a war going on in Ukraine. So would it be insensitive of them to say, regardless of the war, you still have to pay? And then most of the students are not in Ukraine. They're not taking classes, they're not getting the education they are being asked to pay for. So it only makes sense that, they want to be sure of their trajectory before paying money. So what do they do? Is there, I mean, the law is the law, but the law is made by men and women, and the law doesn't make men and women. So where is the balance in all of this?
I will not agree that they do not receive classes. As soon as the situation allowed us to resume classes, we did online, both for Ukrainian and international students. Like 1st of April, almost all universities they resumed classes, and because of Corona, it's not new. I mean, we are very sad that Corona happened to the world, but it helped us to be some kind ready for this situation happened in the country. So when we needed to go online, we went online and we continued to deliver educational process online. So students cannot say like that we do not deliver our education, like we didn't stop under schedule. Like sometimes it happens, the new law says if we have siren because of the missile attack and so on, so we do not deliver a class. Of course, we need to go to shelter. It happens, but then lecturers, professors, they revoke, they upload the materials or appoint another time for the class or do it, just release the materials and then revoke on another class. So it happens, countries in the war. So what we could do in the frame, given all these extensions, we did. So, I mean, we tried also from our side.
Nice. Why are universities in Ukraine asking for nothing less than $400 to give African students transcripts to transfer? The question of transcript has been, it's been a burning issue. A lot of students, especially Nigerian students, have complained that they are able to get their transcripts to transfer. Some have been asked to write, the expulsion
Hmm.
clause, say that I am done, what do they call it? Appeal for expulsion. That,
Hmm.
yeah, appeal
Yeah,
for to be
applicate. Hmm.
expelled and before getting transcripts. And now this person is saying that they are being asked to pay a compulsory $400. It's different stories everywhere, but the common thing remains that they cannot, freely, easily get their transcripts unless they are, apply for expulsion. Why is that the case? Here in Nigeria, students are able to get their transcripts. It just shows your grading so far. Why is it different in, and you don't have to get expelled to get a transcript in Nigeria? Perhaps it's a language thing, but I'll let you explain what that is.
Yeah, with pleasure, because transcripting is, not only for you, but also for us,
Yeah.
is a big deal. $400 we do not charge. Probably some different case. It's to issue the transcript is free, but only so let's not mix in two terms. What we mean under the transcript in Ukraine, this is official transcript released from the university when student withdraw the document, whether he is expelled by, because of the financial debts, because of, not following the curriculum, academic debts, or on his own will. Official transcript is issued only when student is done with the university as a student. There is another thing which we call current records or current abstract from his study plan, from his curriculum, which in different universities can be different case, but we developed in our, I would say about SUME and then about others. In SUME State University, they have personal cabinets. They enter and they can print it in English, to withdraw this document. It will be current record. He doesn't need to be expelled from the university to get this kind of paper and show to another university, like what grade he is, what courses he has done, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
As soon as the university accepts him, he applies, and then he gets official transcript. Same about other universities. If they do not have a personal cabinet facilities like we do, they request from the dean's office. But also students need to remember that depending on the university where it is located, Kharkiv, for example, other cities, they were seriously bombed and ruins lots of the facilities. So sometimes staff is not as much at the places. So sometimes it will take time, and especially like now on Monday, October 10th, I was in my university in Sumy when all these attacks started. From 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. we couldn't work because we were in shelters. No electricity, they attacked power stations. So it affects the way we can deliver our work, our services. So students need also, students saw what it is. Many of them, they faced the beginning of the war in Ukraine, and it was horrible. So the issue of transcripts, we know, but let them express what they want, whether just a current record, which they can request from the university with, no special thing, just some universities can do it automatically from the system. Some they need a staff to translate or print it out or something like that. But for official transcript, yeah, you need to withdraw your documents from the school to get it.
Yeah, so but in this case, it's clear that students are not asking to leave school because they
Mm-hmm.
want to leave school. They are asking for their transcript because they want to move on with their education somewhere else because they do no longer feel safe
Of course.
in Ukraine for obvious reasons, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and then they want to move on to somewhere else. So, great you mentioned, the document that shows your grade and where you are, which you could use to apply to another school. But there are some schools who ask you for official transcripts, and in that case,
Mm-hmm.
they do need an official transcript. And of course, they cannot ask that you terminate their study period in Ukraine when they do not have when they are not sure of where they are going to. So you understand where students are coming from. I mean, you do not quit. So, for example, you do not stop being a Ukrainian when you're not sure that you could be a Nigerian tomorrow, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's where they are. You understand that. So, is there no wiggle room around giving them the transcript without asking them to terminate their study time in Ukraine?
Official transcript cannot be given. They can get a current record. It looks like a transcript, but it's on like official transcript. It will be on special paper, more details on it, like about all these schools and so on and so forth, like 2 or something pages. The current transcript will be also given on the letterhead of the university, and also all the records are there, and probably with the stamp of dean or but it's not like an official transcript. What's just 2 different terms.
So, perhaps the document you're talking about can be referred to as an unofficial transcript.
Um, it's different. I mean, I know unofficial transcript. When we were getting transfer students, we also know what is unofficial transcript, what is official. We call it current extract from the study plan, current record from study plan. I mean, this is the term we are using, not to mix,
But do they
transcript.
show grades, how
Yes,
students are
everything,
graded, classes are taken, and
everything.
also I wouldn't know because I mean I've not been to Ukraine or school there. But have you had um, Ukrainian students who are looking to study outside Ukraine ask for or use this? document you're referring to, not the transcript now, but the other document to gain admission and then return to ask for the official transcript.
Yeah, we had such
And
cases.
those documents were accepted.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I guess that answers the question that people could use that to secure admissions elsewhere and then ask for official transcript.
Yes, sometimes probably when they get it automatically from the system, it doesn't contain the stamp. So if they need the stamp, then they separately need to ask the dean's office for the stamp if the university abroad requires. It depends also on the university abroad. There are so
Mm,
many countries they're trying to, deal with, and so many universities each has specific policy. Like we in Ukraine, we considered for transfer unofficial transcript is okay, but we do not release an invitation. So we can give a pre-admission letter, like we've considered this, you can be accepted for this course. So student can see this is not official letter, but he knows he will be accepted for this course. So he requests for transcript from that school,
mm,
and then we give him admission.
yes.
So if it works in other countries like that, it will work like we did in Ukraine before.
Students are being asked to return, especially to the western part of Ukraine now, where the
Mm-hmm.
war didn't really hit them so much, to continue the studies. And Shooks here is asking what the international body or the body protecting or seeing to the needs of international students in Ukraine is going to see that students are safe. I mean, some sort of insurance, if I may use that word, and what acts or laws protect the rights of international students in Ukraine. They want that to be spelled out for them. They need to understand what laws protect them and their rights in Ukraine.
I mean, their rights were always protected in Ukraine, like for international students.
A couple of them have,
I don't really like understand what he means under that. But our army is securing all people, whether you are Ukrainian, whether you are foreigner. It's even in Sumy we have around 50 students who came back. They use Europe as a like to transit visas from Europe to come back. We have 50, of course, out of 20 of 2,000 is less, but still many are coming back for offline studies. Not many, but they are still coming in western and even in eastern part of Ukraine. We still have such cases. We believe in our army. We believe it, protects us from. Even in Sumy, so many people are back, but we do not encourage, of course, because we do not know which city or which village will be targeted tomorrow. Um,
yeah. So I guess the point this student is trying to make is, I mean, we saw the discrimination that happened where people were trying to flee the war between blacks and Ukrainians or people of color and whites, Caucasian and all of that. So that of course would naturally pose a question, what are my rights as an international student outside my home country? At what point do I say you are violating a right? You only know that your rights are being violated if you know them. So perhaps there's a document that says, oh, these are the rights of a foreigner in Ukraine, and this is what they are entitled to, this is what they are not entitled to. Just like we have the labor law, the international labor law, people know, okay, this is where I can be, this is where I can go when someone is violating my right, and I can sue, or all of these things. So that's basically the question, I believe.
we have different legislative documents regarding international students studying in our country. They are still working. I mean, um, I've heard, these stories about facing some kind of racism, what you mentioned on the borders and so on. I know all the stories, and we've been contacted by different medias about that. And you know that in Ukraine, racism doesn't work. It's not the country where you can say you see racism. And we are very hospitable, we are very tolerant people, but the moment which can what can be there, what how it was perceived by students, it couldn't be, but it was perceived because when the war started, thousands of people, both Ukrainian and international, they fled to the borders. And because of the chaos and panic and this fear of people, they some probably they could behave not the normal, like we all could behave not the normal way we behaved before the war. And there was a rule on the border after first 2 days of cows, only women and children, then elder people, and then only men and something. So sometimes it could be perceived, if you do not know, and if people are talking to you in Ukrainian and you don't know Ukrainian or something, it could be perceived that probably they're just trying to abandon, put in the end of the queue, and you get perceive it as a racism or something. But it was not like that. I mean, I know my country, I know my people, but because of the fear of the chaos of misunderstanding, it could be perceived like that. But not. I will never say this about my country and students too.
Mm.
Me myself, I was driving with several kids in my car, helping them to cross the borders. So, and we were taking care about them, providing food, water. We faced so many problems that time, and we were trying to support them. So, I know different stories.
Yeah. Another question from Lamide here. If the war ends and foreign students continue going to Ukraine in the future, does the Ukraine Ministry of Education plan to continue forcing students to only deal with them through agents that keep extorting students for their own gain? And why are they expected? Why are students expected to pay for mobility programs through said agents?
For mobility program, they will pay directly to the university abroad. They are not paying through agents. If they have, because the issue might come up because of the exchange rate policies, CBN issues, and so on and so forth. As soon as you have an opportunity to pay directly to the school, it's not through agents know how you pay directly to school. And for the policy in general, Ukrainian State Center for International Education and the Ministry of Education and Science, who also authorized me for this trip to represent the Ministry of Education, they do individual consultations, they provide admission, they provide support on arrival. Like the center does everything. You do not need an agent if you want to enter Ukraine. You also can contact straight the university. Sometimes people in Nigeria, they're used to use some facilitation in the process, and they use agents. But Ukrainian State Center for International Education, they do provide lots of work for providing students with admission, arrival to Ukraine, visa support, and so on and so forth. So the center spends lots of efforts to help students. This is the aim of activity, to encourage students to come to Ukraine, to promote Ukrainian education, to receive students in Ukraine, to place them in universities, and so on. So,
So we can't also deny the lived experiences of the students and the question of agents. So last time I worked on a story and I spoke to your colleague, Ms. Shapovalova,
yeah, yes,
how to
Olina
pronounce,
Shapovalova.
yeah, Olena, yeah. I spoke to her and she mentioned that there are some recognized agents in the university system in Ukraine.
Yes.
So universities have agents they recognize. Perhaps these agents are the one extorting students because they are recognized. And so the students have to go through them because the university recognizes them and work with them. And so it's really not a question of, oh, Nigerians are used to, you know, getting facilitation, but this is what is here. The universities have agents they recognize and work with. And then you won't blame the students for working with the agents the universities work with. So the question here, I guess, is probably something you want to take back to the ministry to say,
Mm-hmm.
how do we then remove these agents from the system? Because as it is now, from the lived experiences of the students, they are being extorted by these agents. Perhaps, yes, they get the services they want, but they are being extorted. You pay more than you usually pay. And I would imagine that if they are coming through the Center for International Students, it's free.
No, it's not free. They also have their charges, like for admission, for invitation,
Mm,
for support in airport, like for transfer.
yeah,
It's paid service, but you deal with the states, with the governmental
directly.
institution. Yes.
So perhaps this is something you want to look into to say, like, we don't need agents and all of that. So at this point, we're just going to take a very short break. And when we come back, we continue with all of the questions we have here and we have been asking. We've been speaking with Miss Tatiana, my brother. She's representing the Ministry of Education from Ukraine here in Nigeria.
Thank you.
This Nestle zinc. She na carpenter go dey open the water for you. Hold on, please.
Mm-hmm. We match with colors today.
Sorry?
We match with colors.
Oh yeah, the blue.
Mm-hmm. It's even not blue. It's not green. It's not blue. It's something
Yeah, it's actually a little green.
and little blue.
How do you spell? How do you pronounce the Shapolova?
Shapovalova.
Yeah, Shapolova.
So how did you look?
Are we on? Welcome back, and if you're just joining us, this is Premium Time special interview with me, Tatiana, my brother. She is representing the Ministry of Education in Ukraine, and she's visiting Nigeria briefly, and she's here to answer questions live from Nigerian students who fled the war in Ukraine and how they can move on with their education in Ukraine or outside. Thank you very much again, Tatiana, for being here with us. So we're just going to continue with the questions we've been asking. I'm happy to have you on the hot seat, by the way.
Thank you.
You've been doing so well so far.
I'm happy you highlight these important issues. They are very important both for Ukraine and Nigeria.
What steps are the Ministry of Education and Ukrainian universities taking to make it easier for international students who want to transfer to UK?
We to transform their own.
Well, you can answer on both sides if they are both sides to the coin.
Okay, so let's consider the option. We know that the Nigerian government they also offer transfer to Nigerian schools to be placed in Nigerian medical schools for the transfer. And actually, for example, in some stage we even promote it somehow to our students with Bingham University as our partner here. So the process is a bit, coordinated better, and they can transfer to Nigerian university if they want you. So it's like an option if you are ready to continue education in Nigeria. You just need to apply to school to release your transcript again,
Not
right?
to cut
With
you, you said Bingham.
Bingham.
Okay.
Like it's for Sume, but I know, for example, Karajina, they also, BN Karajina already mentioned university, they also have a partner university here in Nigeria for medical students to transfer and some other universities as well. So, and even on general governmental policy, universities in Nigeria are ready to, some universities are ready to receive students affected by war in Ukraine. And if a student finds his own way to transfer, it's also, I mean, from our side, from the ministry or from the universities, no like concerns about that. You just follow the protocol. You apply to withdraw your documents from the school. The school checks if you do not have any financial debts for the school fees, for hostel fees if they were before the war, for example, before the February, and also like some other outstanding checklist things, and then you can get your transcript and transfer to the university you were accepted to continue your study to transfer. So um, some of the universities we are doing mobility programs as well. They are also ready to receive transfer students as well. But sometimes the process for transfer students it differs from mobility students. For mobility students is a bit easier because it is facilitated by this umbrella of two universities. But for transfer students, it engages a bit more steps, probably, and it will take a bit longer time.
Okay. So I have another question on the rights of international students in Ukraine, and this time it's a little more specific. In a lot of instances, we are not treated as well as their own students. They know the kind of societies we come from, and they take advantage of it. How would you respond to it?
Mm. It's not about us. I don't. I mean, like from the perspective, I know we work with international students. We do care, like what kind of education would be, like what are their social life, war social life. I mean, before the war in our country, like providing different types of events, trainings, activities. Mm, I don't know. We do not. We do not. It's not. It's it's not about benefit, and it's about developing, growing up students in our environment. Um, I can't agree with the statement. The
Yeah.
way we treat students.
Um, Another question on the expulsion clause
Hmm.
is is their understanding of expelling students different from how most of the world understands expulsion in the context of war? This has caused major harm to students seeking to transfer to other institutions. So again, this expulsion, because I mean you know what expulsion means in all part of the world. You're done here, but in this case, the students are not done. They just want a transcript to show evidence that they are actually studying somewhere or they have grades, and this is the premise for the transfer I want to do. So you may want to take this message back to the Ministry of
Yeah, I know.
Education.
I know this question. We had even a Zoom call between all the ministries of Nigeria, also Director Lina Shapovalova, myself, and some other authorities on that meeting. And that was also the question raised by the Ministry of Education of
Yeah.
Nigeria. There is standards documents, like you have in Nigeria, we have same in Ukraine. So this is a universal word we use when students withdraw documents and we issue a document. So expel doesn't contain any bad meaning for us. It's whether on your will, whether on some other, reasons you are leaving the university. So for us, it is okay, and for many countries it is okay, and only with Nigeria we face that it's raised questions about this word. So we are trying to see how we can change our standards, because it is printed from the system, from the system of the ministry. So if we can develop another standard and use another word, like probably resigned, I don't know, like to just to change this word, which is
Mm.
disturbing, a lot. And
Yeah.
we are looking at this. We are trying to see how we can change our standards to to make this process not so stressful
Yeah,
for
because
students.
it's really stressful. I
I
mean,
know,
every
I
time
know,
you have to read it, so
I
very
know, I
annoying.
know.
What is the motive behind asking students to come back to war zones when their safety cannot be guaranteed? And why are Ukrainian universities expelling students in their home countries who have refused to continue classes online? Why? What are they doing about universities who are withholding transcripts? So there are like pack of
Many
questions
many
here.
questions. Yeah. So with the universities who are asking to return students, we do not encourage to return, but we need just to say that there is still an option if you decide. Some students decide and they come back because they do not want to transfer or something, and it's many our Ukrainians they are going back. So it's just an option. We do not encourage students to come until the war is over. For the second question was.
Expelling students who refuse to take classes online.
Yeah, because if you do not take classes online, you are still a student and time is going, semester is going. So if you do not take classes and you do not pay your school fees, you cannot continue. So it's just a normal processing for if you do not attend classes, you will be expelled,
Mm.
whether it is online or offline. If you do not want to continue online, submit an application and withdraw document, or apply for mobility program, or transfer to Nigerian university, or use one of the option. But if you keep silent, we do not know what we could how we can help.
Mm.
You cannot just not continuing and expecting university not to expel you.
Mm.
So it's about communication. So they need to communicate to school their needs. And for the universities holding transcripts, we hear like such requests, probably some individual cases, but in general, if you do not have any debts with the school, your transcript will be released.
You've spoken a lot about mobility programs, and I have a question here asking why are most of the mobility programs and other educational activities limited to only Ukrainian nationals, even in English speaking activities?
Um, Before the war, we had all this. Not all Ukrainians participate in mobility programs, but this is an option developed like within recent decades, and it's like part of European mode of studying. You know, when you exchange and go for one semester,
Mm.
and for the frame of such, for example, Erasmus Plus and other international projects, they were offering this for Ukrainians. For international students, developed we've just developed this mode of exchange, right? So that they can take part, and mostly with European universities, they when you have 80,000 international students stranded, out of them 8,000 Nigerians. No universities in Europe or somewhere they can give such number of places for any type of exchange. So that's why universities are looking for partnerships on their own, where they can place students, where the fees are more affordable. Because I mean, we could find the way with I don't know, like Poland or like other many universities where fees are very much more higher.
Mm.
So that's also a concern, a big concern for that. So not so many options probably we can develop for now, but whatever we could do, we are trying to do.
Mm. Are they aware of how the teachers and management in their school treat foreign students? Like we're begging them for free education, even though we pay more than the locals.
For they're begging for the
So
education.
ill treatments, there's literally what this user is talking about. They're treated less compared to their Ukrainian counterparts.
I don't know how they can compare. I don't know whether they see how Ukrainian students are doing in the class or how they are doing. But as per my perception, our lecturers are very devoted to international students. We have lots of professors who stay with them out of class, to uh, work on their some practical aspects of the classes and so on and so forth. So probably it depends on some particular individual case, probably, but in general, we do not differ, Ukrainian or international students.
Have you received, do you have new students for the new academic year?
We have.
So how are they going to be taking classes? Have they resumed? What's the number?
I can't say the number exactly for now because for international students admission is still on. Um, what our country did, we developed a law. Finally, it was adopted that we can admit students online distantly. They do not to be in country physically, so we can do admission online. And for the first year, for example, when it is theoretical courses or this is economic programs or this is IT programs which can be delivered online, they can study online till the war is over, and then they can come on campus to the university. But for now, universities can admit students distantly, remotely, do all the processing and submit documents. Everything then it can be online and distantly.
Mm. Why are students unable to demand their own documents and leave when they like?
When they were leaving,
So people, a few students are demanding for their documents, including their work certificate,
hmm
and they are denied access. Why is that the case?
denied access.
Like they won't hand it over to them.
Um, uh, handed it's a process which needs to be considered from a different perspective, because if they want to withdraw, someone need to collect, we somehow need to post it. For example, it took one something months, more than a month, we posted documents from Sume to a student, and it took more than a month because DHL is not working. It's not like as easy as before. You just need 5 days and documents are
Mm.
posted. then you need an application, you need to authorize someone. We cannot just, just give it's his documents, and we cannot give it to someone. They need to authorize someone to pick the documents and send them out of country. And because of the war, as I've said, it can take much more longer time. So, like, the documents just were delivered yesterday. We sent in the beginning of September. I just could, take them and bring, instead of waiting for 1.5 months for them to be delivered, but post. So it needed to be agreed with the university if they withdraw the document, the way how they will be dispatched to a person, because they need to authorize someone
Yes.
and pay for the logistics for the
But in
not
this,
DHL, but for the
yeah,
post and
for the
some.
posting. Yeah, but in this case, it's outright refusal. I mean, we've not even gotten to the point where it's where are you asking, are you coming to take it yourself, or are you authorizing someone, or how do
Hmm.
we send it? It's like saying, um, "Hello, Tatiana, I want my certificate." And say, "Oh no, I can't give you a certificate."
But it's not how it can be.
Well,
You
these
need.
are experiences of students, and so they are asking questions to get clarity. Is this a norm, or is someone violating my rights? So I guess this is why they are what my rights are questions are
Hmm.
revolving around.
No, every student has the right to apply to the university to withdraw his document. So if the university is not responding, contact the center of the Ministry of Education with this question, so that the Ministry Center can contact the university and find out what is happening.
Is there also an expulsion clause for withdrawing my document? Do I
Expo,
need to be expelled to get my document?
for if you continue in a university, and all students coming to school, they need to do recognition of their VIAC or previous transcripts, VIAC or NECO certificate. So they need to do recognition. If your recognition is done, you get the certificate from Ministry of Education. Then you can receive your original back. But until we get, so probably the case is the documents were still not recognized or something. So it is specific case which needed to be considered. But in general, if you were enrolled for the first year of study, then you did this recognition process, you can withdraw original of your right certificate.
Without any
No,
force.
without
I
any
don't need
cost.
to be expelled to get my document
For WIAC, no, you don't need to be expelled.
Do they realize that VN Karazin organized an English speaking mobility program with a German university and limited it to only Ukrainian speaking local students, which is nothing short of racist and prejudicial. And this is the kind of thing other schools are known for.
It could be also some kind of policy of the partner school. It's not about only the Ankarazin University as an example. Uh, as I've said, for example, in Sumy, we got only 3 places for international students in one of the universities. So it's a bit tough with schools in Germany and all other Western Europe to arrange such kind of mobilities for international students. We need to look for another options as well. It's in the frame of partnership. Sometimes that's not the home university who is establishing, the rules for the partnership. It could be coming from more from the junior university.
Hmm. So you talked about how you have not secured a lot of slots for students in regards to the mobility programs. And so do you not, I mean, time is not on the side of students,
Yes, I
time is
know.
working away. Do you not think it's easier to just hand students the transcript or help them do the transfer? I mean, they need transcript for transfer, of course. So hand them their transcript to get transfer other than wasting their time. You don't have all of these slots and they have to wait because, of course, they don't want to get expelled when they are not sure that there's an admission somewhere.
So you mean the facilitation of the school to transfer somewhere?
Yeah, so basically, students need transcript for the transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but there's the option of the mobility program, which is not full fledged yet. They're still,
Mm-hmm.
still shaky. And time is fast spent. Academic sessions are moving. No one is waiting. The world is not waiting. The world is moving regardless of what's happening.
Yeah, I know.
So, how do you help students to take time? I mean, they can't wait for when you finalize your mobility program and make it great for everyone. They need to move on with their lives. So, the transcripts help them to move on with their lives and move on with their education. So, how do you balance all of that?
It's hard to balance, in terms of what is the situation in the country and whatever our staff is trying to do in order to facilitate all these partnerships for the transfer. If they do not want to wait for mobility program or something, they just apply, take their transcript, and they can, as I've mentioned, for transfer programs, instead of mobility, it will take longer time and some more documentation involved and some steps involved to get to another university for studying. So, I mean, both options they're working, whether they want to go with the university for the mobility program or they want to go on their own with their transcripts and transfer. That works. Just students need to, I mean, they need to make up their mind and like tell the university whether they join the program or whether they withdraw transcript or transfer.
So, VN Karazin, coincidentally or in a very funny way, has been in my mentions for the
Yeah,
wrong reasons. And so VN Karazin is refusing to hand over documents to the students.
I will pass this message to the president.
Yeah. Um,
This is
so,
the fifth or something question
yeah,
coming from
VN
Karazina
Karazin. So,
University, so I
yeah.
will definitely
Yeah.
just draw attention
To see
to.
that if this is going on, it has to stop. Students should be able to get their documents. I mean, there was no force in handing over the documents to the school, so it should be easy to return it. And if there are conditions, you let students know what they need to do to have their documents, provided they are reasonable, of course.
Party was seriously affected,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we need to consider that as well.
yeah. But I mean, there should be communication, clear
Yeah,
communication.
communication definitely should be
Yeah.
happening.
Um. So a student is asking, did Ukraine always know that the medical certificates will be deemed unacceptable? Like we're seeing MBCN in India, Nigeria, Ghana as well. So if you're not accepting the certificate, do you always was this always the case, or is it a
No,
new development?
no. We have thousands of international students. We were famous for medical education. India recognized everything. Like we had only issue with Nigeria, but the problem of non-recognition. The decrease students obtained in June 2022, right? It was only like last month they did online, so we couldn't expect because when Corona was, COVID happened and students went into online.
Hmm.
Nobody said we
Okay.
do not recognize. But when the war happened in my country, they stopped recognizing graduate degree because of 2 months of doing the final semester online, and it was quite um, surprising moment for us. To be honest, we didn't expect that because if not COVID 2 years ago, it could be, like some kind of
Hmm.
prediction
Yeah.
for us. But we had Corona and students were studying online for, for a year or something
Yeah.
and going again on breaks because of the waves. And yeah, it is the case for us.
Is there going to be a refund of school fees for those who did not complete their programs?
Mm, school refunds if they didn't complete it, like it's only previous semester or something, right? School fees school fees cannot be refunded from the school for last semester. If they stopped studying from last semester, they will be given transcripts, and if they do not continue, right? So that's the only thing they can get transcripts and continue where they want to continue with medical education.
Why are students' visa status cancelled as soon as they request transcript?
That's the migration policy because when there is again, transcript or current record. If it's current record, no issues. Let's call it non-official transcript, right? But if it is transcript, that means you are not a student anymore. We Even this migration policy, as soon as you are not a student and the order of you being expelled is issued, and you get your transcript, your sorry, I'm saying in Ukrainian, your residence permit is cancelled. But I'm sure students who are asking questions, they know when I say postvika, they know what it is. So the residence permit is cancelled. Within 10 days, university need to inform migration service of Ukraine that student is no longer a student, and then his residence permit is cancelled. We were trying to see if we could when students take an academic break. But even despite of the war, they still, if you even take an academic break, your residence permit will be cancelled by migration because this is the migration law.
Mm. But so does not put the students in harm's way, I mean, getting harassed by immigration, because once your permit is cancelled, you automatically become an illegal immigrant, right?
No, why not? Why illegal? They're not in the country now.
I mean, so you're still in the country. You get
Hmm.
your certificate, your transfer brother, and you're in the country, perhaps trying to round up a few things and sort yourself out before
In the
leaving.
country, in Ukraine or somewhere
In
else.
Ukraine, of course.
But they're not in Ukraine now.
I mean, not now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But so let's assume, on a regular, a non-war, a
Okay.
no-war
I
situation.
would love to talk about non-war situation, honestly.
Okay. Um, can the ministry explain the thinking in pressuring for the return of third national students to Ukraine without liability coverage for injuries and deaths while Russia continues to shell and attack Ukraine?
Yeah.
So insurance, literally. So students are being pressured to return according to this question.
They cannot be pressured.
Well, this is what they are saying. I
Yes,
can't say,
I
yeah.
understand, but from our point of view, we cannot pressure students to come back. Sometimes I know we send a message, please confirm if you can be for this particular exam or something in Ukraine. But this is just a circulation of their letters, and they shouldn't be perceived as a pressure for students to come to Ukraine. Nobody can pressure students to come to Ukraine now. That's if only he feels he wants to. And we have students who once and
Hmm.
they come back. But
Hmm.
that's the responsibility they take on their own. Like they're all on the same level as all Ukrainians.
Hmm. This is from a very frustrated and perhaps tired student. He says, I'm sick to death of Ukrainian universities telling new international students to deal directly with agents. I request that the Ministry of Education should make the schools deal directly with the students for invitation letters and other matters. This is serious exploitation. Just what we spoke about
Yeah,
earlier, the
yeah, it's
agents
same.
question.
They can just contact the center directly for any admission process they want, any university they want. The center is for their services.
Hmm. Can the Ukrainian government renew post-Vitka? So someone used the word now. Yeah, for all
So you are ready for the question now?
yeah, for all international students to cover the period that they were not in the country for the war.
Post-Vitka issue is an issue. Sometimes we have students who came in January, like for winter intake, and they applied for post-Vitka, and the war started, and they couldn't get it, and they, fled out of country. And post-Vitka is only kept for 6 months. If you do not receive, it's gone. So all those students, by the time they need to come back to Ukraine, they will need to renew visa.
Hmm.
And those students, for example, who traveled and they had passport expiring, and if passport expires, that means postvisa also expires. So they will need to renew visa to come back to Ukraine and continue studies. But that will be a bit, they will be a fully enrolled students. So it will be probably a bit different process because they're already students and they just need visa to come back. So I think they will be develop some another pathway like for such kind of students
Hmm.
because it happened the way it happened and it's war, so it should be developed some solution for new visa to for them to come back.
And you have other countries that have said they cannot recognize your medical certificate to students outside Nigeria, Ghana, and India, who you said you've now had an understanding with.
Yes, on September 17th or something, I don't remember, India issued, Medical Council of India issued that they do recognize
Mm.
online mobility and all those um, um, developments, right, for students. We have only Ghana was a surprise, but they just released it in September as well, and it was a shock for us because students already started the semester,
Mm.
knowing that their medical council is okay,
Yeah.
and then they released it not after semester started. So it was also a challenging issue for us. But we have the biggest challenge with Nigeria, of course, because the biggest number is not Ghana, it's Nigeria.
Mm. So, what other um, countries are saying they do not recognize
I
the
don't hear
certificate?
in other
No.
countries.
So, right now it's Nigeria and Ghana,
Ghana.
and the two countries have the same reason. They've given the same reasons for saying they do not recognize the certificate. So, how long is there a timeline to say, okay, this is when we hope to reach an agreement with the governments of Nigeria and Ghana for the recognition of our certificates, or we have to, you know, stop the courses because the country do not accept our certificates? And again, this is probably a moral question to say that if you are currently having issues with Nigeria and Ghana not accepting your medical certificates, will it be right to continue to admit new students into those courses from these countries?
Hmm. Yeah, it's challenging question. That's why actually I'm here. Like that's why we had a special representative for Africa here in the country because this is a very important question. And from our side, we are ready. We just had set of negotiations with the authorities to seek their understanding and approval. We see readiness from the Ministry of Health also, to facilitate the solutions and to have this, working team working together on the
Mm,
solution. So it will depend both on us and you
yeah.
and Nigeria, how fast we can. From our side, we are ready. Like we can, provide any, documents, like any letters, like anything what they need from our side. We are ready. So, and we also put this on the table to the ministry today. So I hope we will achieve a positive results.
From your meeting so far and your conversations, do you think you're going to get a positive response anytime soon?
I hope so.
Mm. Good hope. Thank you very much, Tatiana, for being here, for
Thank
spending
you.
time and answering all of our numerous questions. We would always reach out to you if you have more questions because I'm sure these questions were not exhaustive. But of course, we have limited time and we can't keep you all day to answer our questions. But we're very, very grateful and we thank you for coming on. We've been speaking to Miss My Brother from the Ministry of Education, Ukraine. Yeah, so I said my
My
brother.
brother.
I mean, she now has a Nigerian version for her last name, which is my Baroda, actually. We call it my brother here, but it's my Baroda. Thank you very much for watching. We hope we exhausted most of your questions and you have more clarity. But do not forget to use the comment section if there are other questions that were not answered in this session we had with her, a representative from the Ministry of Education Ukraine. We'll be happy to reach out back to them and get clarity. Once again, this is Premium Times, and thank you for joining.